Every year, millions of people around the globe face the daunting diagnosis of cancer. Despite revolutionary advances in science and medicine over the past 5 years, cancer continues to be one of the leading causes of death worldwide. The numbers are staggering. Over 1,600 people die from cancer every single day in the United States alone, and in China, that number rises to more than 8,000 daily. This relentless disease is now on the verge of surpassing heart disease as the #1 killer. And the question remains, why? Professor Thomas C. Fried, a leading cancer researcher, has dedicated his career to uncovering the real reasons behind the global cancer epidemic. He reveals that the tragedy persists not only because of limitations in our healthcare system, but also because most people, over 90%, don't realize a fundamental truth. Cancer is not just a genetic or environmental disease, but a metabolic one. Understanding this holds the key to not only preventing cancer, but potentially treating it more effectively. Let's take a closer look at the standard approach to cancer care. When someone is diagnosed with lung, breast, colon, or bladder cancer, there is a set protocol, almost written in stone. The typical sequence involves surgery, perhaps followed by radiation, and then a regimented drug treatment program. For some, these interventions offer hope and survival. But for far too many, they are not enough. The result? An ever-increasing number of people diagnosed and dying from cancer across every continent. It's a troubling picture, and it won't improve until we change the way we understand and approach the disease. Professor C.F. Fried argues that our modern lifestyles are at the core of the problem. We live in an age marked by sedentary habits, diets overloaded with highly processed carbohydrates, and chronic stress, mental, emotional, and physical. Poor sleep, loneliness, exposure to microchemicals, forever chemicals, and microplastics all compound the risks. When you combine these factors, it's no surprise that cancer is affecting younger people more than ever before, and the numbers keep rising. So, what is the missing link? It's our mitochondria, the tiny power plants within each cell. Mitochondria are responsible for generating energy through a process called respiration, which uses oxygen to fuel the cell. When mitochondria are damaged by harmful lifestyle factors, the cell loses its ability to use oxygen properly and switches to an ancient backup system for energy: fermentation. This shift is the perfect environment for cancer to take root. But what exactly fuels this fermentation process? The answer is twofold: glucose and glutamine. Cancer cells thrive on these substances. If you want to stop feeding cancer, these are the dietary elements to cut. Professor C.F. Fried emphasizes a critical point. Cancer cells cannot use fat for fuel. This insight forms the foundation for metabolic therapy, a method that not only helps prevent the development of cancer, but can also help fight it. Natural fats play a crucial role in this approach. They push the body into a state called therapeutic ketosis, where the body transitions from burning sugar to burning fat, turning it into ketones. Ketones are a unique fuel source that cancer cells cannot use. A high-fat diet is designed to keep your mitochondria healthy, and when your mitochondria are healthy, your risk of cancer plummets. This isn't about adopting a fad diet or consuming unhealthy fats indiscriminately. Instead, it's about returning to the wisdom of our ancestors. When ancient humans hunted large animals, they prioritized the marrow, the fat-rich interior of bones, and organ meats, which provided a balanced array of nutrients. They didn't die from chronic diseases like cancer or diabetes. They succumbed to infections and injuries. Today, modern medicine has largely conquered those threats, but in their place, chronic diseases have taken hold. Conditions like type 2 diabetes, cancer, hypertension, and cardiovascular disease are all linked to energy abuse and mitochondrial disturbance. But not all cells can become cancerous. In order to develop cancer, a cell must not only have damaged mitochondria, but also be able to upregulate its fermentation machinery to compensate for the loss of oxygen-based energy production. Some cells, like neurons in the brain and cardiac myocytes in the heart, cannot make this switch and therefore rarely, if ever, develop cancer. Other cells, liver, colon, breast, are susceptible because they can switch to fermentation when under stress. So, if you're determined to bring your cancer risk as close to zero as possible, where should you begin? The answer is simple. Start with your diet. This is the first and most powerful metabolic tool you can use to take control of your health and extend your life. The approach is straightforward. Eliminate sugar, sweets, bread, potatoes, and other refined carbohydrates from your meals. These foods are the main sources of glucose, the preferred fuel for cancer cells. Instead, fuel your body with healthy fats, butter, olive oil, avocados. Add in fatty meats, liver, eggs, fish, and non-starchy vegetables such as broccoli, cauliflower, and spinach. This dietary shift encourages your body to stop burning sugar and start burning ketones, a type of fuel that cancer cells cannot exploit. To track your progress, Professor C.F. Fried recommends monitoring something called the Glucose Ketone Index, or GKI. When your GKI drops below 2.0, cancer cells lose their ability to survive. Most people on a typical Western diet, however, have a GKI above 50, an environment in which cancer can flourish. The process is simple and empowering. You become your own experimental subject, using readily available tools like a glucose and ketone meter. Devices such as Keto Mojo, which can be found online, allow you to prick your finger, collect a drop of blood, and measure both glucose and ketone levels. This information helps you understand which foods and habits keep you in a safe metabolic zone and which ones put you at risk. Diet is just the beginning. The second crucial step is movement. Physical activity is not just important, it's essential. Regular exercise lowers the levels of glucose and glutamine in your blood, cutting off the main fuel supply for tumor cells. The good news is you don't need to become an athlete or run marathons to reap the benefits. Brisk walking, swimming, or light strength training are more than enough. What matters most is consistency. When you move your muscles regularly, they actively pull sugar out of your bloodstream, creating an internal environment that is hostile to cancer. The third piece of the puzzle is fasting. Whether you choose intermittent fasting or occasional water fasting, both methods activate powerful healing and cleansing processes in the body. Fasting rapidly lowers your glucose ketone index, and when it drops below 2.0, the body enters a state where cancer cells begin to die off. However, if you have already been diagnosed with cancer, it is critical to undertake any fasting protocols only under medical supervision. While fasting can be a potent tool, it must be approached with caution and professional guidance. It may seem hard to believe that something as simple as managing your diet and lifestyle could be such a powerful weapon against cancer. But this is not just wishful thinking. It's backed by decades of research conducted by Professor Thomas Saf Fried and other leading scientists. There are no magic pills here, no miracle cures. The message is clear. By making informed choices about what you eat and how you live, you can take real steps toward preventing cancer and slowing its progression. Let's recap the essential points. First, recognize that cancer is a metabolic disease driven by disturbances in cellular energy production. By keeping your mitochondria healthy, you dramatically reduce your risk. Second, eliminate sugar and processed carbohydrates from your diet. Replace them with natural fats, fatty meats, organ meats, eggs, fish, and non-starchy vegetables. This dietary approach pushes your body into ketosis, a state where cancer cells struggle to survive. Third, monitor your progress using the glucose ketone index. Aim for a GKI below 2.0 to deprive cancer cells of their fuel. Fourth, make physical activity a regular part of your routine. Simple, consistent movement helps lower blood glucose and glutamine, starving tumor cells and promoting overall health. Fifth, consider fasting protocols to activate your body's natural healing processes. But always consult with a healthcare professional before starting any new regimen, especially if you have a cancer diagnosis. Throughout history, our ancestors faced different challenges. They succumbed to infections and injuries because they lacked the medical tools we have today. But they also understood the importance of natural, nutrient-rich foods. Modern society has largely overcome the threats of infections and injuries, but our lifestyles have paved the way for chronic diseases. Now, with decades of research and scientific breakthroughs, we have the power to take control of our health. We can make choices that support mitochondrial function, reduce energy abuse, and prevent the conditions that lead to cancer. The tools are simple and accessible to everyone: diet, movement, fasting, and self-monitoring. Imagine a world where cancer rates begin to fall, where more people live long, healthy lives free from the fear of this devastating disease. It starts with awareness, education, and action. By understanding the metabolic basis of cancer and making practical changes to your daily routine, you can transform your health and protect yourself and your loved ones. Now, it's your turn to take the first step. Start by evaluating your diet. Cut out sugar and processed carbs, and embrace healthy fats and whole foods. Begin a simple exercise routine that you can maintain consistently. Learn how to track your glucose ketone index and use it as a guide to make better choices. Explore fasting protocols if appropriate, and always consult with your healthcare provider. The fight against cancer starts at home, with the choices you make every day. Empower yourself with knowledge, take control of your metabolic health, and become an active participant in your own well-being. Thank you for joining us in this important conversation. If you found this information valuable, please share it with friends and family. Together, we can change the way the world thinks about cancer prevention. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more insightful health education content. Your journey to better health begins now.